The energy around football in Brazil is just electric, really something else.
It absolutely is.
And what we're seeing now is, well, that passion is really surging into the world of online sports betting. It's a fascinating landscape, changing so fast.
Absolutely. Brazil's love affair with sports, especially football, it provides this incredible foundation.
Right.
Then you layer on the convenience and, the thrill of online platforms, and it's kind of a natural recipe for the growth we're observing.
Okay, let's unpack this for you. If you're curious about what's happening with Brazilian betting sites, but you haven't got the time to wade through endless online searches.
Yeah, who does?
Exactly. Then this deep dive is exactly what you need. We've done the legwork, looking at the top articles that pop up when you search best Brazil betting sites, so you don't have to.
That's the mission here, really, to give you a clear, informative snapshot of the best betting options serving the Brazilian market. We're focusing on what makes a site trustworthy, the payment methods that really matter to Brazilians, and the crucial legal context.
And just so you know, if you're looking for a handy list, like some of the top betting sites available in Brazil right now, you'll find a link waiting for you right there in the description of this deep dive. Plus, we've added more links in the caption if you want to explore any of these topics, in greater detail. So let's start with what's driving this growing interest in online betting in Brazil.
Well, as we sort of touched on, the deep-seated sports culture is fundamental. We saw some data suggesting that over 70% of Brazilian sports fans are now exploring online betting.
70%.
Yeah, that's a huge number. It really underscores the scale of this market. And naturally, football is a massive draw, but we're also seeing increasing interest in other sports like basketball, volleyball, tennis, and the rapidly expanding world of esports.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Sports betting was actually legalized in Brazil back in 2018. That must have been a real catalyst for this growth, right?
It certainly paved the way, yeah. Legalization opened the doors for both international and, well, potentially future local platforms to operate within the country. However, it's maybe worth considering a point raised on Reddit. While the growth is undeniable, some users there suggest that sports betting might not yet be a universally ingrained cultural practice for everyone.
Oh, okay.
And there are indeed some differing opinions and even some negative views expressed out there.
That's a really important nuance. So while the overall trend points upwards, it's a good reminder that, individual attitudes and cultural integration can vary. So if someone in Brazil is looking for a betting site they can trust, what should be their main priorities?
Trust. It's absolutely paramount. And the key thing to understand from our sources is that the top-tier sites serving Brazilian bettors are generally companies that are owned, operated, and crucially regulated outside of Brazil.
Okay, so these aren't typically Brazilian-based companies we're talking about for the most part.
Precisely, yeah. And because of this international operation, the importance of licensing and regulation from recognized international authorities, well, it just can't be overstated.
Right.
Think of bodies in jurisdictions like the UK, Gibraltar, Malta, Curacao, and Conowake. These authorities have established frameworks for oversight and consumer protection.
That makes sense. It's like looking for an external stamp of approval, kind of.
Exactly. And generally speaking, larger or more established companies tend to be viewed as more trustworthy.
Okay.
They typically have greater financial stability, which is reassuring when it comes to payouts, right?
Sure.
They also tend to have more robust compliance measures and invest more heavily in security technologies like SSL encryption to safeguard your personal and financial data.
The padlock thing.
Yeah, you can usually verify this by looking for HTTPS in the website address and that little green padlock icon in your browser.
Definitely important for peace of mind in the online world.
Yeah.
Now, moving beyond trust, what are the practical factors a Brazilian bettor should really focus on when choosing a site?
Okay, several key elements come into play. First and foremost is the variety of sports and the depth of their betting markets. While football is non-negotiable for the Brazilian market,
Of course.
the leading sites will also offer extensive coverage of other popular sports: basketball, volleyball, tennis, and like we said, the ever-growing esports scene.
And I'm guessing the ability to transact in their own currency is a big deal.
Oh, absolutely essential. Support for the Brazilian real BRL for all transactions is a must, just for convenience and, to avoid any unnecessary currency exchange fees.
And how about the ways they actually get their money onto the site and, maybe more importantly, get their winnings back out?
Yeah, good point. A wide range of payment options is crucial, and these should include methods that are commonly used and trusted in Brazil. We'll delve into the specifics of these payment types shortly, but think options Brazilians use daily.
User-friendliness must be a big factor too, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to struggle with a complicated website, especially on a phone.
Precisely. A user-friendly interface, particularly on mobile devices, is absolutely key. Mobile betting is just a dominant trend. A large proportion of users prefer placing bets using their smartphones.
Makes sense.
And finally, responsive and helpful customer support, ideally offered in Portuguese, is vital for resolving any questions or issues that might crop up.
Okay, so we have a good understanding of what makes a site appealing. Our sources mentioned quite a few different betting platforms. Can we maybe highlight some of the names that appeared most frequently?
Certainly. And it's important to reiterate, like you said, we're not ranking these sites, just noting those mentioned across multiple sources as examples of, well, established players.
Got it.
Bet365 is consistently cited, particularly for its extensive coverage of Brazilian football leagues, its live streaming capabilities, and its support for BRL transactions.
Okay.
Sporting Bet is another prominent name, known for its comprehensive sportsbook with a strong focus on Brazilian sports, plus live betting and BRL support. Then there's 1xBet, which stands out for its very wide selection of sports and a really diverse array of payment options, including cryptocurrencies, actually.
Betfair was mentioned in our sources too, wasn't it? Different model there.
Yes, exactly. Betfair operates on a slightly different model, a betting exchange. So instead of betting against the bookmaker, you're essentially betting against other users, setting your own odds or taking odds others have offered.
Interesting.
Yeah, it can provide more flexibility, but maybe requires a little understanding of how it works. They also offer a broad selection of football markets. Rivalo was another site that frequently appeared, often noted for its focus on Brazilian sports and support for the local currency.
And there were a few other notable mentions from our research.
Correct. BetSafe and Betson, while operating as separate brands, they're both part of the larger Betson AB group, and they came up.
Right.
Betson specifically offers BRL accounts and a Portuguese language version of their site. BetVictor also has a Portuguese language site for Brazil and supports BRL banking through popular methods like PIX and Boleto. Buwin, which is part of Entain, offers BRL accounts, a Portuguese site, and a wide range of payment options popular in Brazil, including PIX and Boleto.
Lots of names.
There are. Marathon Bet also offers BRL accounts and a Portuguese site, and they have a unique feature called Advanced Bets. NetBet, providing BRL accounts and a Portuguese site, is recognized for its fast markets and cash-out features. And Nordic Bet, another brand under Betson AB, offers BRL banking via local transfers, although their primary site is in English.
That's quite a range of options already, and our sources actually listed even more beyond these main ones.
They did indeed. Platforms like 1xBet, Melbit, 888 Sport, Betwinner, Betway, Yazbit, MegaPerry, BC Games, Stake, Pinnacle, 22Bet, 18Bet, Perrymatch, Ullman, CBET, 31Bet, and 888 Stars. They all made appearances in at least one of the top 10 lists we looked at.
Wow.
It really emphasizes the extensive variety of choices available to Brazilian bettors in the online space. It's pretty crowded.
Okay, so with all these different platforms, how do people in Brazil typically handle their financial transactions for online betting? This sounds crucial.
This is a particularly interesting aspect, yeah. And one payment method has truly risen to prominence. PIX.
Right.
This instant payment system, created and managed by the Central Bank of Brazil. Well, it's become incredibly popular just due to its speed, its ease of use, and its perceived security.
How popular are we talking?
Surveys suggest it's the preferred method for around 81 to 90% of Brazilian online gamblers.
80 to 90%, that's huge.
It's massive. And, the rapid adoption of PIX isn't just about convenience for bettors. It reflects a broader shift towards instant digital transactions in Brazil generally, which, interestingly, could give these bettors a different expectation of payout speeds compared to users in markets where such systems are maybe less common.
Interesting point. Like it could put pressure on the betting platforms themselves.
Exactly. Pressure to offer increasingly faster withdrawals to meet that expectation.
So what really makes PIX so dominant then? Just the speed?
The instant nature of the transactions is a huge draw, definitely, as is the user-friendly interface. It's also widely considered to be a very secure method for transferring funds.
What about the more traditional payment methods, like credit cards or bank slips? Are they still relevant in this landscape?
Yes, absolutely. Traditional bank cards, think Visa, MasterCard, and even the locally popular ELO card, they still hold significant importance.
Good.
Boleto Bancário, that traditional Brazilian payment slip, also continues to be used by some, although its overall popularity is, well, gradually declining compared to PIX.
Right.
E-wallets like Pay4Fun, Afterpay, PayPal, Skrill. They're also widely accepted across many betting sites and are seeing growing adoption, convenience and security features again.
And crypto. You mentioned 1xBet takes it.
Yeah, cryptocurrencies do have a presence. They cater to a more niche segment of the market, but they aren't nearly as widely used as PIX or bank cards for, let's say, mainstream gambling transactions.
It sounds like the increasing use of smartphones is also influencing these payment trends, pushing things towards mobile.
Undeniably. The trend is strongly towards mobile payments. It mirrors the broader e-commerce trends we're seeing throughout Brazil. And the desire for quick access to winnings is also apparent. We saw the search term instant withdrawal casinos is actually gaining traction. People want their money fast.
Makes total sense.
Mhm.
Now let's move on to a really crucial area for our listeners.
Mm-hmm.
The legal landscape surrounding online betting in Brazil. You mentioned 2018.
Right. So as we discussed briefly earlier, online sports betting was indeed legalized back in 2018. However, the comprehensive regulatory framework, well, that's been in development since then.
Okay.
The challenge for regulators, I suppose, will be balancing consumer protection with allowing the market to actually grow. We've seen in other places that overly restrictive regulations can sometimes push users back towards unregulated sites.
Ah, right. Finding that balance.
Exactly. Finding that sweet spot will be crucial.
So it's been a bit of a wait-and-see situation for the full picture to emerge.
Pretty much, yeah. But the significant development is that a regulatory scheme was recently activated in January of 2025, which is, 5 years after the initial law was passed.
5 years, okay. So things are getting more concrete now.
Exactly. This activation signals a much more concrete phase for the development of this market.
What are the primary goals of the Brazilian government with these new regulations as far as we know?
The government seems primarily focused on promoting responsible gambling practices, preventing gambling addiction among its citizens, and establishing a fair and transparent regulatory environment for operators.
Makes sense.
They are also actively working to track down on betting operators that continue to function without proper authorization.
And physical betting shops. Still off limits.
Generally, yes.
Yeah.
It's important to note that while online sports betting is now within the legal framework, physical betting shops are generally still considered illegal. So online platforms are really the primary legal avenue for sports wagering.
Okay. And with this regulatory focus, responsible gambling must be a significant consideration for both the government and the betting platforms themselves.
Absolutely. Brazilian regulators are placing a strong emphasis on the importance of responsible gambling and, the prevention of addiction. Online gambling, if not approved responsibly, does carry inherent risks.
Like what?
Well, the potential for scams, obviously, and the development of addictive behaviors. Reputable betting sites typically have their own responsible gambling policies and provide tools to help their users maintain control over their betting activities. Things like deposit limits, self-exclusion, stuff like that.
Right. Those tools are important. So as we bring this deep dive to a close, what are the most important things for our listener to take away about the Brazilian online betting scene right now?
Okay, I'd say first, the online betting market in Brazil is experiencing really rapid growth driven by that incredible national passion for sports. Second, when you're choosing a betting site, it's vital to prioritize platforms that are licensed and trustworthy, which often means looking at those regulated by reputable international bodies.
Got it. Trustworthy and licensed.
Third, for payments, PIX has become the dominant method. Just because of its speed and convenience. It's huge.
Right. PIX is king.
And finally, the legal landscape is actively evolving with the recent activation of regulations aimed at fostering a safer and more transparent environment for everyone involved.
Okay, great summary. This deep dive has really provided, I think, a valuable shortcut to understanding the key aspects of the Brazilian online betting market without having to navigate through all those initial search results yourself.
Exactly. We've tried to synthesize the critical information from those top articles to provide you with a solid and informative overview.
And just a final reminder for you listening.
Yep.
If you'd like that direct link to a curated list of some of the best betting sites serving Brazil, you'll find it conveniently located right there in the description of this deep dive. And for those of you who want to delve even deeper into specific areas, maybe payments or the legal side, be sure to check out the additional links we've included in the caption.
So as we witness this market continue its rapid development, influenced by technological advancements and this evolving regulatory framework,
Hmm.
it prompts an interesting question to maybe leave you with.
Oh,
What might the online betting experience in Brazil look like in the coming years? What new trends and innovations might emerge for bettors like you? It's definitely a dynamic space to watch.